I'm an urban dweller. I grew up in a city, and you know, I get a chance to see rural life, but I never grew up on a farm or around, around nature. So when I went to Transylvania, and whenever I go to such settings, I get really swept off my feet by the beauty and the harmony of life there. And in a way, perhaps with my pictures, I almost romanticize that lifestyle. I see them as romantic paintings, and when I went there, I was just blown away by the beauty of the place and the beauty of the people. So perhaps in the photographs, because I'm so enchanted with the light and the people and the faces and the lifestyle, you don't see harshness. And that's why it was important for me to include information about, the kind of the hard lifestyle that people hardship of farming, in these areas, and that's when the words complement the pictures, and that's when you get the extra information. I think though also in the faces you can see these sunburned, wrinkled faces. You can tell that the people spend a lot of time in the open, working hard. You can see that in the hands. You can see that in the expressions. Sometimes they're forlorn expressions. There's a picture of a widow with her daughter, and you can just tell like the kind of life she had in her facial expressions. So there's some subtleties and ways to show it, not directly, but sort of indirectly and in a kind of a more silent way. And that's what I was going for. I went to Transylvania in Romania, into the small communities in the Carpathian mountains of, and the region was called Maramuresh. And these were all small village communities. And I went there to find that lost landscape, that what I think is a lost landscape in Europe. Very traditional agrarian lifestyle with culture that's still persisting in spite of all the changes that happened after Romania joined the EU in 2007, and small farmers could no longer compete with large-scale industrial agricultural production. I met people who, both young and old, who spent pretty much all of their lives in the field. I met the elderly people in the age of 90 that are still working. The farmers there, they say that the Romanian farmers are in the fields till they die, because a lot of them, they don't qualify for pensions because the plot of land is too small to get EU subsidies and too big to qualify for a Romanian state pension. So they really do farm till they die. And I saw whole families in the field. I saw little boys learning how to make hay, girls, and mothers are making haystacks together. And that was something that you don't see in Europe anymore, this kind of small-scale, sustainable farming as a lifestyle, as a culture. I met a very romantic shepherd there who was, his only regret in life was that he never managed to get married, and he regretted it because he couldn't get his own flock, because you can only have your own flock of sheep if you have support, if you have family. He spent all his life traveling around the mountains, grazing sheep. And then the last phrase that he told me in the end, he said, if somebody asks me today, what would you rather have in your life, women or sheep, I'd still choose sheep. It's such a quiet, such a slow pace of life. You walk through the village and you see in the morning old women are making food for the pigs, and you see these steams of smoke coming out from the courtyards. And once I remember we passed by this woman and she was just sitting on the porch, and we asked her, good morning, what are you doing? And she looked at us and she said, just waiting for winter. Whenever I saw people working in the field, I would walk up to them and I would ask them if they were okay for me to sort of stand around and observe them. And then they were very welcoming and they were very happy to be photographed. Nobody really minded me being there. And in fact, it made their day more interesting. They were interested in me as much as I was interested in them. So we interacted, and I, even made a few friends. I met this wonderful woman, Maria, who was pregnant at the time, and she spent She told me she spent a year in France with her husband because her husband was working in construction. A lot of the young people leave the villages to go and find work in Europe in construction and some other things. And that's why this culture is actually dying out. So she spent a year in France, and she said she didn't like it because she felt her mind was preoccupied with all these unnecessary thoughts, practical thoughts of, renting an apartment and getting a mortgage and just this this mundane thoughts and then she said that whenever she's back home, she's farming, she's making hay, her mind is empty. There's space. She actually told me there is space in my mind for more beautiful thoughts. I saw the impending doom, in the form of satellite dishes and SUVs and cemented walls. I saw that was, quite prominent there as well. But I was shocked to see next to all of that, rickety wooden churches that squeak as you walk inside and move, you feel the floor vibrating as you're walking in. I saw the houses, wooden houses, and the indoors, inside the house, things have remained the same. I saw 500-year-old aggregates operated by river, the milling connected to the weaving connected to the distillery that's all operated by the river stream that's been designed 500 years ago and still is active, and families are coming in and washing carpets in ancient wooden washing machines, operated by river streams. I was just shocked and amazed at how it's still part of life, part of culture. It has not retracted into this artificial museum space. It is actually part of life and part of culture, and that was just wonderful to see, and I just hope it continues being this way.